And welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. For those of you who have joined us over or for the last presentation, today's presentation, we are going to be talking about business listings and the importance of establishing a strong listing portfolio. This is the second presentation in a series of 6 or 7 presentations that we're doing that are really designed to walk you through the process of building a strong digital footprint. So what we're going to do today is, again, focus on the steps that you need to take in order to build a strong listing portfolio. But we're also going to take a look at some awesome tools that will help you automate a lot of the processes behind building a listing portfolio. So let's jump straight into the presentation. I'm just going to X out of here for a second. Give me one sec here. Oh. There we go. Okay, excellent. So one of the reasons that building a strong listing portfolio is so critical is because buying decisions are being made online. As every year passes, more and more of us are making the decision to do business online. So 93% of consumers actually say they've used online resources before, and 83% of those consumers have used an online search tool before going into a store. So that's a lot of people who are actually using Google in particular to look for information about products or services before they even decide whether or not they want them. So we're going to talk, I'm going to quickly run you through the way that we choose to do business nowadays. Now, the old customer journey looked a little bit like this. We would see an advertisement somewhere and that would build awareness for a product or service. So for example, we might be driving down the street and see a billboard for an awesome new product. And the next step that we would take is we'd call the business, or we'd visit the business, or we would connect with that business in some way, shape or form. And then we would share our experience with family or friends. The big thing that's changed, and the reason the consumer journey has changed so much nowadays, is after being made aware of that new product or service, the very next thing that almost all of us are doing are researching it. We're Googling it. We're going onto social media. We're trying to educate ourselves further before we decide whether we want to make a purchase. So after we've researched it, if the information that we find is credible and it leads us to want to make a purchase, only then will we connect with the business. And we're even connecting with businesses in different ways now as well. The old customer journey, we'd physically go and see the business, or we'd make a phone call. Today, we're visiting websites, we're looking at their social media, we're connecting with them in different ways. And then with respect to sharing our opinion after the purchase, we're also doing that differently too. Instead of sitting around the dinner table and telling our friends and family about this great product I just bought, we're actually sharing our experiences through Google reviews and Facebook reviews and Tripadvisor reviews, and we're sharing our experiences online. So those 2 points, so the searchability, so when we're searching for information about a product or service, and also the post-purchase experience, so the way that we're sharing our experience of the product or service that we've purchased, are 2 of the most critical steps in the consumer journey, according to Google. Those are the 2 biggest influencing steps that sort of lead us towards making a purchase. So it's really, really important that you stand out where people are making decisions online. 93% of businesses are found based on information that people have found online. So let's take a quick look at the channels impacting the customer journey in today's environment. So awareness is still very, very important. Findability is important. reputation, conversion, and advocacy. And I'm going to jump into what each of these mean right now. So awareness. So the first thing that, or the first step in the consumer journey is making people aware of your product or service. And there are lots of different ways you can do that. You can do that through social media advertising, through search advertising. You can run targeted email campaigns, text marketing campaigns, loyalty programs, even video ads on YouTube or on your website or on different websites, TV ads, billboards, online display advertising, print, so newspaper or magazine, radio, word of mouth. These are all wonderful tools to help you build awareness for a new product or service. The next step in the consumer journey, however, keeping in mind that once you've made somebody aware of a product or service, the next thing they're going to do is search for information, and they're going to Google. So making it easy for people to find you online is really important as well. Some of the things that you can do to enhance your profile in Google are things like organic search or SEO. So putting some work into your website and your SEO strategy to ensure that you're showing as high up in Google for those important search terms that you're looking for. And what I mean by that is, if you are a local locksmith, for example, making sure that you show up for search terms like locksmiths in Winnipeg or locked my keys in my car in Winnipeg. You want to show up for those important search terms that people are looking for. Pay-per-click or Google ads. SEO is generally a longer term strategy. It takes time to rank well in the major search engines. But one of the ways that you can get to the top of those search engines really quickly is by pay-per-click ads or Google ads. So you can actually pay Google so that you show up whenever somebody searches for those important search terms. Google Maps and Apple Map listings are important. So making sure that you're showing up in those map applications. Different online business directories are important, and we'll talk a little bit about why in a moment. Different apps related to your industry or your product or your service is important. So an example of that might be the Yelp app, for example. If you're a restaurant, making sure that you're showing up in those appropriate industry-related apps are important. And then voice search. So making sure that you're one of the options that shows up for when somebody searches on Siri or Alexa. So you need to build awareness for a product or service. You need to make it easy for people to find you. And then the next step is making sure the information they find leads them to want to do business with you. So some of the things that you can do to build a strong database of persuasive content are things like creating blogs and articles that you can share online through different platforms, not only on your own websites, but perhaps guest blogging on other websites as well. So, using content to try and position yourself and your business as an industry leader or an industry expert is a great way to build a strong reputation. Reviews. So, striving for lots of positive reviews, asking happy customers to not only write reviews, but share them with their friends and family. Social media. So building a strong presence on social, a strong engaged presence on social is a great way to build reputation. And then of course, we have the traditional family and friends. So again, the idea here is building awareness for a product or service, making it easy for people to find you, making sure that the information they find is credible and leads them to want to do business with you. But then the next step is conversion. So they've made the decision, yes, I'm going to buy that product or service. I want to do business with them. So they visit your website, or they visit you in some capacity. So what you need to do here is make it as easy as possible to convert them from a visitor or a potential customer into a paying customer. So again, some of the things that you can do here are things like, if you're a service-based business, making sure that you have a calendar on your website that people can book appointments on. If you are an e-commerce business, making sure that your website is built properly so that it's easy for people to complete their purchase on your website. Messaging bots can be a great way to convert people. Making sure that if it's easier for people to purchase through an app, that you have an app for your business. There's lots of different things you can do to make it easier to convert that potential customer and that visitor into a customer, into a paying customer. And then the last thing, of course, once they've become a paying customer, you want to encourage them to share their experience. You want to use their awesome experience with your business as a way to market yourself. So encourage them to create a post on social media talking about your product or service. Ask them to write a review. Ask them to discuss it with their friends, or ask for feedback from friends. And maybe even invite them to create a blog post that sort of shows them or has them demonstrate your product or service. So the idea here is you're turning the positive experiences that your customers are having with your products and services into a marketing tool and into an opportunity to market your products. So there's a number of different channels impacting the customer journey, and at each point throughout that customer journey, there's different things that you can do to really enhance your digital footprint, and that's really what this series is about. Is identifying what are the things that you need to do in order to build a strong digital footprint. So the challenge with all of this, and the challenge with doing business online nowadays, is if you don't build a strong digital foundation and you don't make it easy for potential clients to find you, and you don't build a strong reputation, you risk funneling clients to your competitors. So an example of how this might backfire or might work is, let's say, for example, you spend a ton of money on advertising your awesome new product or services. So you run some ads on YouTube, you run some ads on Facebook, you've got a Google campaign coming, you're building lots of awareness in the marketplace. You've invested in SEO, so you've made it easy for people to find you when they search for the product or service. However, you don't have any reviews, or the reviews that you do have aren't super positive. You haven't invested in building a strong database of content designed to lead them to want to make a purchase, and you really haven't built that foundation. So you've got that potential customer to a point that they're actually ready to purchase, but they're not going to purchase with you because you haven't built that foundation. So it's important to win at every point of the customer journey. Now, with respect to building a digital footprint, where is the smartest place to start? Always start with the conversion point, or the end of the funnel, the end of the journey, and that is your website. So you want to make sure that you build the website first, make sure that it's easy for people to convert, make sure it's easy for you to convert them into customers. Then you can focus on showing up higher in Google and making sure you've got a strong listing portfolio in conjunction with building a strong reputation through content development. You want to make sure that you've built a a process that makes it easy for your customers to share their experience. And then the last thing you do is the promotion of your products or services. So again, the idea here, build the foundation first, then promote your products and services. So let's jump into some more specifics around building a listing portfolio. So building a listing portfolio is really about helping you build visibility online and helping you make it easier for people to find you online. And visibility is really about making sure customers can find you not only through Google, but from a whole bunch of different places. You need to make sure that you're listed in as many relevant places as possible. People are not only using Google for search. It is a big percentage, but people are using platforms like Tripadvisor and the Yellow Pages, even Web Local, which is a local business or a business directory. Profile Canada, there's lots of different platforms that people can potentially use to find your business online. It's also really important that whatever platforms you list your business on, that the information you're sharing is accurate. And the reason for that is there's nothing worse than, as a consumer, finding 4 or 5 different listings for a business that all have incorrect information. A perfect example of this is with the recent closure or change in hours for a lot of businesses due to COVID. A lot of them are forgetting to update their operation hours in their Google listing, for example. So if a customer's looking for a product or service and they see that on your Google listing, oh yeah, they're open, and they drive to your business, but you're actually not open because you haven't updated your Google listing, that really turns us off. It drives consumers mad. It drives us crazy. So accurate listings make customers happy, but they also make Google happy as well. And the reason for that is, if you can imagine 2 businesses side by side, they both have 20 different listings, so they're listed on 20 different websites. One of those businesses spends effort and time and energy in making sure that all of those listings are 100% accurate. The other one just kind of updates it occasionally, and it's not too much of a concern for them. They're listed on there, so they're happy. Now, when somebody searches for your products or services, Google is actually always going to give preference in its rankings to the business that has the most accurate and consistent listings. So it is part of a bigger picture SEO strategy. So accurate listings are really, really important. So why are they important? So again, consumers use their phones 24/7 to find businesses' phone numbers, addresses, and to put in their GPS and links to websites with more information. So an accurate online presence is the first step towards building a strong digital footprint. So when I talk about listings, there are some specifics around what makes up a listing. What is a listing? So business listings are basically profiles that contain pertinent information to your business. So your name, address, phone number, and website. Now, they can appear in, listings can appear in business directories and apps and map platforms across the web. But the other thing that appears across the web as well are things called citations. Now, citations are basically web pages that only reference a portion of your business's information. So for example, there might be a business out there or a website out there that lists your business's name in an article. So that would be considered a citation. It's not a listing because it doesn't have all your pertinent information, but it's a citation because they talk about your business. So there's two types of listings. Now, more people are searching online and they aren't always looking for your website. We don't have control over where people ultimately get information about your business from. And the search environment is constantly evolving and changing. There's always new websites, there's new social media platforms, there's always new things that are popping up that people are spending time on. And as a business, it makes sense that you should be listed in some of those things as well. Now, the interesting thing with listings, and this can be infuriating for a lot of people, is a lot of the big platforms out there. So Google My Business, for example, Facebook, Yellow Pages, Apple Maps, they actually share your business's information with a whole range of other websites as well. So this is why maintaining accurate listings is so critical, because if you've provided some information to Google My Business, for example, that is inconsistent with the information that you've provided Apple Maps, and those two platforms are sharing your location data with a bunch of different websites, then there's potential for huge inaccuracies across the web. So they all share information, which is why it's so critical to keep your listings as accurate as possible. Nicole, we have a question?
Yes, we do. Are there some types of listings that are more popular in our area, city, province, example, Kijiji versus Craigslist?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for the question. Yeah, it's really important that when you decide where you're going to list your business, that you do some research on what some of the most popular search platforms are. So, if you type into Google local business directories or business information or business events or anything related to business, you'll actually start to see a huge collection of different business directories and different platforms out there that might make sense for you to list your business on. There's also industry-related platforms that are important as well. So one of those, for example, that we deal with a lot is we deal with a lot of home renovation type clients, is a platform called Houzz, Houzz. So that's basically an online business directory for home renovation type companies. Another one is, and it's actually a side project that I'm working on. So Campsite Canada is a online directory for campgrounds to list their properties on. So there's lots of different industry related business platforms and directories out there, but there's also those big sort of geographically focused ones as well. So you just need to do a bit of research to determine which are the most important ones for you to be on. Now there are some that are critical. Google My Business, of course, is really important. Yelp is really important. Facebook is actually very important because they feed a lot of information to other platforms. And we'll actually go through some more in a moment as well. Now, listing distribution. So listing distribution is not, depending on where you do business, can be really important. Here in Canada, it's not as important as what it is in the US, for example. If you do business in the US, this is an important place to list your information. Now, there are 4 major data providers in North America. So one of them is called Factual, one is Axicom, one is Infogroup, and one is Newstar. Now, those 4 data providers provide your information, your business's information, to over 300 different sources and 300 different platforms, ranging from search engines to business directories to review websites to GPS platforms, a whole bunch of different places. So making sure that you have a listing with each of those platforms is going to help you build a strong digital footprint. Now, having a listing with each of those will increase online citations and create long-term organic search on optimization. Consistent online business listings data helps you rank higher in Google search, and fixing your listings at the source provides some insurance against negative effects. So there are different tools, and I'm going to share with you one of the tools that we use in a moment that help you create a listing and distribute it to multiple platforms with a click of a button. So it's sort of a one-stop dashboard that you can manage your entire listing portfolio. But again, if you're doing business in the US, making sure that these 4 major data aggregators have your information is critical to building a strong digital footprint. Listing Sync. So Listing Sync is one of the tools that we use, and it's actually a free tool. And what it actually does is allows you to sync a listing. So you create a listing and then sync it to different platforms with a click of a button. So the free version allows you to sync it to Facebook, Twitter, and Google My Business. And then there are, if you sort of pay for an enhanced version, it allows you to sync it with a bunch of other platforms as well. So the benefits of using tools like this, and there are lots of them out there, is a lot of them are free to get started on. A lot of them provide instant results. They protect you from unwanted changes of your listings by third parties, and they save you loads of time. Now, you can imagine, if you're a restaurant, for example, or if you're a restaurant owner, first of all, researching all of the different platforms that you should be listed on, creating that listing, so making sure you have your phone number, address, hours of operation, payment methods, images attached to the business. There's a whole bunch of information you can use to create a listing. And then visiting each of those platforms and uploading that information. So let's say you want to be on Yelp, you want to be on Tripadvisor, you want to be on Google My Business, you want to be on Urban Spoon, you want to be on, what's the reservation one? There's a reservation software. You want to be on that one. But, let's say you've identified 10 websites that you want your business's info on. Can you imagine the amount of time it takes to actually create and upload listings for each of those? So tools like Listing Sync save you time, because again, you create a listing and then you automatically sync it with a bunch of these different websites. Listing Sync Pro is the tool that we use. So again, this is sort of an extension to Listing Sync, where you can pay to have your business synced to a bunch of other websites as well. So these are some of them. So obviously Google My Business, Facebook, Foursquare, Hot Frog, Appendi, Show Me Local, N49. These are all business directories that the Listing Sync tool have identified as being critical in building a strong digital footprint. It also syncs to vehicle GPS systems as well. So if you are a bricks and mortar store and you really rely on foot traffic, making sure that your business is listed in different GPS platforms is important as well. So for example, if I go and buy a new GM tomorrow and it comes with a nav system, you want to make sure your business's information is included in that GM business directory. Now, visibility premium. So one of the things that you can do to really enhance your listing portfolio pretty quickly and pretty easily, first of all, is make sure that you have listings on these websites. So Google My Business is an important one, Bing, Yelp, and Yellow Pages. And then from a social media perspective, Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, not so much Google Plus anymore, but that's sort of been replaced with a Google My Business. But having listings on those platforms will actually help you create a strong portfolio, because they share information with a whole bunch of different websites. So starting with those ones is going to give you sort of a leg up, because they share information with a bunch of different websites and directories and apps across the web. Now, some of you may have heard that Google My Business is really, really taking off, and it's really sort of the next step in evolution from a Google standpoint for business services. Like Google is investing a lot to ensure that businesses are using the platform, but they're constantly adding features, and they're constantly adding different things to help you build a strong digital footprint. So Google My Business, in our opinion, is critical for any business. If you're going to build a strong digital footprint, starting with Google My Business is really important. So having a website is essential, but it's not enough. Customers want to follow brands on social media, and having a strong Google presence can attract more customers. So by posting on Google My Business, Google's suggesting that mobile marketing is vital for local businesses, and most of us know this. Internet-based searches are increasing, and customers want information quickly. So, sharing your business's information and updates and posts on Google is only going to make it easier for people to find you. The number of smartphone users is expected to increase from 3 billion in 2018 to almost 4 billion by 2021. And 60% of Google searches are done on a mobile device. 70% of online customers buy from businesses they find online. Over 60% of online transactions are now done on mobile. And 50% of customers use their phones to shop while they're actually in a store. I know my wife does that sometimes, if we're in a store and they haven't got a product that she's gone to look at, she'll just purchase it online and have it sent to our house, or have it sent to the business and we can go and pick it up. Searches with Open Now increased by 300% in 2 years. So what that means is looking for, local restaurant Open Now or Now Open. Mobile searches with Near Me grew 150% over the last 2 years. And so a well-maintained Google My Business profile gets 5 times more views than an incomplete profile. So you can see why it's important to build that strong Google My Business presence. 53% of users abandon websites that take longer than 3 seconds to load. Over 60% of customers expect to see the information they need quickly, and less than half of them feel that brands are delivering on that promise. So how do your customers search? When they do, and this is an example, so open restaurants near me. So this is generally what they'll see first. They see what's called the Google top 3 pack. So they see the map. Sometimes they'll actually see on that map an advertisement right at the top. So that's you can see on the left-hand side there's an ad at the top. But one of the ways to have your business featured in this top 3 pack, is make sure you have a complete Google My Business profile and that it's filled out to its as well as possible. Make sure that you're proactive in generating lots of positive reviews. Reviews are a ranking factor in this section. And make sure that you're active on Google My Business. The more active you are on Google, the better the chance you have of showing up in this top 3 pack. So the Google Knowledge Panel, and most of you are probably familiar with this, but when you search for a business name, for example, if they have a Google My Business account, this knowledge panel will show up on the right-hand side of the search. Or if you're on mobile, it'll often be the first thing that shows up even before their website. So this is basically your Google homepage. This is the section, excuse me, that includes all your business's pertinent information. And that's sort of another view of it there. Now, having a well filled out and a Google My Business profile that's as complete as possible gives you a lot more real estate. So you can see on the left-hand side there. So this is a Google My Business profile that really hasn't had any effort whatsoever put into keeping it active and updated. Whereas the one on the right, you can see there's lots of information there. They're posting on Google My Business regularly. They're generating lots of positive reviews. They're answering customer questions that come through. There's lots of activity associated with the profile on the right. So again, when somebody's searching for chartered accountants in this particular area, the profile that is active and the profile that is updated regularly and the profile that encourages interaction is always going to get a better ranking in Google than the one on the left. So the one on the left, they've when they set their profile up, they correctly put their name, address, phone number, their website, and their hours of operation. But the one on their right, so they've done all of that, but they've also uploaded some photos. They've encouraged people to leave Google reviews. They've posted through the Google My Business platform on a regular basis. They've answered questions that people have asked through the platform. And they filled out the descriptions in the Google My Business section as well. So again, the idea here is you want to make sure that Google profile is as active as possible. Now, some of the benefits of Google My Business posts, and some of you will have seen these before, but you can promote your products and services right in the Google search window. You can attract more online customers. You can let customers know about upcoming events. You can obviously drive more sales, increase foot traffic to your store, get information in front of people, and complement your Google My Business listings and social media strategy. And you can use it to stand out from the competition. Now, one of the cool things with Google My Business is there are, I guess you could call them templated post styles that Google has created that you can use to achieve different objectives. So for example, we can see the 3 posts here. So the one on the left, the first one, so Google My Business posts are promotional. So you can use like a learn more button that links to a website or links to another piece of content. The one in the middle, deliver your message in just a few words, buy now. So you can link that to a product on your website that's for sale. The one on the right, we use call to action buttons to deliver results. So enjoy our special cocktails with a guest bartender every Wednesday. So there's different post styles depending on what your objectives are. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just jump into, I'm going to jump into the software that we utilize to manage some of our clients' listing portfolios, just to give you an idea of how some of these platforms work. Now, again, there are lots of different platforms out there that you can use to do this. This is one that we've found to be really user-friendly. We just enjoy working with this platform, but there are lots of them out there. Yellow Pages has a listing builder type solution. Lots of different agencies out there have similar platforms. This is just the one that we like. So I'm going to share with you how this one works and what it can do for you. So first of all, I want to explain a little bit about listing scores. Okay. So this report that I'm sharing with you here is based on my business. So this is TMD Winnipeg's listing portfolio. This is how we monitor and manage and look after our listings portfolio. So the first thing you'll notice is our listing score. And we have a listing score of 506. Now, what that means is based on the volume of listings that we have and based on the accuracy of the listings that we have, sort of the aggregated score that we've been able to achieve is 506. Now, when we compare that to the industry average, so we're in the marketing category, so the industry average is only 221, and to be in the top 5%, you need a score of 337. So we're way up the top with respect to our listing portfolio score. So what that tells me is, first of all, we're listed in a lot more places than our competitors are, and our listing accuracy is much better as well. So this is just a good little sort of indication to give you, or a good little sort of stat to give you an indication of how you're performing against competitors with respect to your listing scores. So we are currently displaying 36 of 36 sources. So we have 36 different platforms that we either have listings on or that we should have listings on based on our industry category. So what we can see here with each of these, so first of all, we start with search engines. So Google and Bing are the most critical to be listed on for our category of business. So this one here, however, says that we have a possible error. So if we click on that Bing Maps listing, we can see that the current listing says our location is 167 Lombard, 500. Whereas the information that we've provided is 500-167 Lombard. So what I can actually do here, if I'm signed into my Google account, I can just go in and edit that and correct that. This is the correct information, and this is what's being displayed in Bing. So I can go in and correct that now. Google is correct. So with respect to review websites, there are a few that are recommended for our industry, aside from, of course, Google My Business and Facebook. But Glassdoor is one that's recommended for our industry. So for those of you who are familiar with Glassdoor, it's like a review platform for employers. So if you are hunting for a job, you can actually, and there's a particular company that you are interested in, you can go onto Glassdoor and see what other employees have to say about it. Now, I don't have a listing on here because we don't have very many employees, so it's just not worth it for us. But Glassdoor is one that we could certainly create a listing on. Indeed, so when we list jobs for sale, we could be doing that through Indeed. N49 is a review site that people can leave reviews on. Yelp. So we have some listing inaccuracies here. We have the incorrect postal code. So, now I can go in here and correct that. Social media. So these are the social sites that are recommended for our industry or for our business to be in. So Facebook, Foursquare, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So our LinkedIn account is displaying our old address. So we need to go in and update that. And then these are all of the different business directories that have been, these ones have been recommended for us to list our business in based on the category that we're in. So some of them we're listed in, some of them we're not. I've actually got a little bit of work to do to come in here and update some of these listings. But you can see here, this gives you a really good sort of overview of what your listing portfolio looks like. The other thing that we have access to, I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, the difference between listings and citations. So listings are, again, directories and search engines and review sites that have all of our pertinent information. Citations are basically websites that just mention part of our business listing. So it might just mention our name or our phone number, or it might be a link to our website. But these are all of the citations that we've discovered across the web. So all of these businesses in some capacity mention our business. So there's lots of different ones there. Did I just see a question come up, Nicole? No? Okay. And then statistics. So we can see here that there is a question?
Yeah, it was just in the chat. So just to remind everybody, just if you can put that in the Q&A box, so then I won't miss it for sure. And as the hour goes by so quickly with all this great information. So we have Renee's asking, keeping listings, content, and blogs active and up to date seems to take a lot of time. Any recommendations on how to manage the volume of work? And I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to share with you a tool that we use in just a moment as well that can help you do that. So before I do that though, I'll just quickly explain what these are. So we can see here going back to September 26, 2019, and then up to yesterday, the citations for our business have slowly but steadily been growing. So more and more people are starting to mention our business online, which is great. That's what you want to see. You want to see that uptick in citations. The more citations that you have out there on the web, again, the higher up you're going to show in Google. This is part of your SEO strategy. The more people that mention you and the more people that link back to you, the higher up you'll appear in Google. So, making sure that this is trending upwards is always important. The other thing that we see here with respect to our listing score, we actually took a huge dive in our score. Now, the reason this happened is we actually moved in June. So our location changed. So what happened here is when we moved offices, it's slowly but steadily taking some time to actually correct all of those listings that are out there, because changing listings doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It can take time. So, we've slowly been crawling our way back up. But this dive here represents the fact that there was an inaccuracy in our listing. Our address changed. So we had lots of listings out there with the incorrect address on it. Now, in answer to the question that was just asked, are there any tools or is there any advice for managing some of this stuff? And the answer is yes. So what I just showed you was sort of a reporting tool to show you your listing portfolio. This is a tool, Listing Builder, that can actually save you an absolute ton of time. So first of all, what you can do in here is create a listing, which is awesome. So you can go to your business profile and you will be able to create a robust and rich business listing. As soon as this loads, there we go. Always takes a little longer to load when I'm on Zoom. Okay, here we go. So in here, you can actually fill this. It's basically like a questionnaire. So you can come in here and fill out or build a business listing. So your business name, you can actually put in here common things that you're known by, your address, of course. Now, this is actually an important aspect of it. So some people don't want their address displayed on different platforms. So Google My Business, for example. If you don't want your address displayed on there, or if you're a service-based business that covers a geographical area, you can actually choose to hide your physical address. And what it will say is you serve the province of Manitoba or Winnipeg. So this is an important part as well. You do have to have a business address in there, but you can choose not to display it. Website, of course, email address, what business category you're in. This is important as well, because this will, again, when somebody's searching for a product or service, one of the things Google's going to look for is what business category are you in. Phone numbers, fax numbers, all that sort of stuff in here. You can even put in here operational information, you know, whether or not you have an online store, whether you offer delivery, in-store pickup, by appointment only, payment methods. So you can come in here and create a really robust business listing. Hours of operation, special holiday hours, all the different social media accounts that you have. You can put in here some of the search terms that are important to you, some of your competitors, of course, your business description. So most listing sites and most business directories will have a short description and a long description. So you can fill both of those in here. And then the other thing you can put in here as well are images or media related to your business as well. So once you've done that, what you're able to do is come back to this listing builder. Okay. And you can actually, if we come into manage sync, sorry guys, taking a moment to load. There we go. So here we can see that first of all, these four here are free. So these are the ones I was telling you with this particular tool, Listing Sync. It will automatically sync that information to these 4 sites. So Google My Business, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So that information that we just filled in, if we toggle these switches on, it'll automatically sync and share that information with these platforms. The enhanced version of Listing Sync, which some of our clients pay for, some of them don't, but will automatically sync all of that information to all of these different websites and business directories. So again, these are websites and business directories that, based on our industry category, the platform is recommending are the most important. So Yelp, Apple Maps, Bing Maps, Foursquare, Mantra, TomTom, Brown Book. There's a whole bunch of different ones in here. Some of these I've never heard of, and they're going to change for everyone because every industry has different platforms that are critical to them. You can see over here the listing accuracy. So Yelp is accurate. Apple Maps, the listing has been accepted and submitted. So that's still updating at the moment. So it's not accurate yet, but it's updating. Bing Maps is in the process of syncing and updating. Foursquare is in the process of syncing and updating. Mantra is accurate. We have another question?
Yes, we do. So if you are a service-based business that can service people literally anywhere, as professional services are usually delivered remotely, can you do you recommend long descriptions using keywords? What are best practices with descriptions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Great question. Yeah, so with respect to the descriptions, some of the best practices to follow there, of course, are making it really clear and concise who you are and what it is that you do. Not only is that important from a consumer standpoint, but Google uses your descriptions as well. So when somebody searches for a product or service, Google scans your listing. Like it looks at not only your listing, but all your competitors as well. And using their algorithm tries to determine which is the best fit for this particular search. So being concise and clear with your descriptions is really important. And yes, including some of those important search terms that people might use when they're looking for your products and services. Now, what you don't want to do is something called keyword stuffing. So you don't want to keep stuffing those descriptions with keywords. It needs to sound natural, and it needs to sound proper. So again, clear and concise, include some keywords, but don't overdo it with the keywords. Okay, so you can see that like this particular tool, Listing Sync, for us and for a lot of our clients is an important one, because you can imagine the amount of time that we would have to spend if we had to go into every one of these platforms, and update the listing manually. It's hours and hours and hours of work. But with this tool, we can just automatically sync it. Now, some of them will sync overnight, whereas others can take weeks or even months to actually sync the correct data. So we can see this one, Hot Frog's still syncing, so that's still in progress. So I updated our listing back when we moved, which was June, I think it was. So some of these are still syncing from June. So you can see that it does sometimes take a little bit of time. The other thing that you can do in here, and this is just a fun sort of additional feature, for anyone who doesn't have a website, this particular tool actually allows you to create a listing or a microsite, if you will. Let's just view the listing. So this is sort of a micro website that you can build with this particular listing platform. So we can see that there. Okay, so that's just a cool little sort of added feature of this particular tool. Let me go back to overview. The other thing that we can look at in this listing builder, if you connect your Google My Business account to the platform, or when you connect your Google My Business account to the platform, it will actually pull all of your Google My Business stats in here as well. So you can start to see the impact that your listing portfolio has on your Google score and your Google stats. So here we can see searches, and I'm just going to move this. So over the last month, we have appeared in 522 searches. So 607 views. So some of those were in Google search, some of them were in Google Maps. different actions that were taken on our listing. So the most common actions that customers take, request directions, visit our website or call us. Direction requests and phone calls will show up in here. Photo views, photo quality. So this will give you a nice indication of the impact that your listings are having on your Google, on your Google listing. Okay, so I think that is everything. I'm going to open it up. I'm just going to go back to our presentation really quickly, but I'm going to open it up to questions and fire away if you have any.
Perfect, thank you. We have one question. This program that's being used, is it readily available on the website, or does an appointment or phone call need to be made to get access to it?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, so this is one of our proprietary tools. So if you're interested in utilizing this, just shoot us an email or visit our website and just fill in one of the forms, and we can set you up with an account right away. As I said, that the listing sync is free to start with, and then if you want to down the road add more listings, you can always pay to upgrade it. But yeah, feel free to connect with us, and we can set you up with a free account.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Aaron. Would there be maybe top 3 things that people should consider before we close out?
Yeah, I think
considering.
Yeah, I think the top 3 takeaways from what we've discussed today: Google My Business. So invest time and energy in building a strong Google My Business profile. That's probably your biggest bang for buck. So Google My Business. Accuracy of listings. So if you know that there's inaccurate listings out there, do what you can to correct them as quickly as possible. And probably the third one would be making sure that you're listed in the most appropriate directories for your industry. So again, I'll use the home renovation one as an example. Houzz is a wonderful platform for home renovation. So look for the most appropriate directories, make sure they're accurate, and invest time in Google My Business.
Perfect. And making sure that it's all accurate so people can find you.
Absolutely.
It's totally important. Well,
Yeah.
merci, Aaron, for all this great information in this new digital presence series listing webinar. And for all of you for joining us today, please know that the WTC Winnipeg is here to help you any way we can. We are a reliable and trusted resource during this difficult time. Feel free to connect with us by phone or by filling out our business information request form, or as well as other resources that have just been sent in the chat box. Hope to see you at upcoming seminars. Check our lineup for the rest of September, and October is also starting to be filled up on our website. Join us October 8th, Aaron's other next seminar, the new digital presence series, and it's going to be based on reputation. So looking forward to that, and that will be a very another important element when creating your digital presence. So everybody, please have a great day. Bonne journée. Stay safe and healthy.